Hello and welcome to another weekly update. Really busy week this week. All the things I'm going to talk about, 3 items this week, and they're all blog posts that I've put out. They're not links to other people's blogs or other articles or anything like that. I haven't really had a lot of opportunity to go through and see what else has been published this week because it has been that busy. The fact that I've put out 3 blog posts this week should tell you enough about what you need to know about how busy it's been. And actually, in a way, some of those things, they're not newly announced this week, although one of them is, and I'll talk about that at the end. But it's things that are coming out of Ignite. So I'm spending the time now going back through Microsoft Ignite videos and sessions, and that's where we're seeing some of this information kind of come out from. Bit of a rushed one as well today, just kind of very rushed weekend, lots and lots happening. It's that run up to Christmas, so apologies, I'm in my hoodie and kind of t-shirt and my hair is kind of a mess. It's been this way since I got back from swimming this morning. Not me swimming, daughter swimming. Anyway, let's get on and talk about the 3 interesting things that I blogged about this week. So the first one is concerning the seller dashboard. So if you make Microsoft Teams apps and you publish them into the App Store, you will be aware of the seller dashboard. It's the mechanism by which you publish your application into the App Store. It's how it's reviewed. It's how you control where it appears in the App Store and the wording and the version, all that information, the screenshots and all that stuff, all the metadata that appears around your application in the App Store. And it's a bit clunky, let's be nice. It's not a great experience. It's all right, it sort of works, but also in talking to some of the team at Microsoft, it's kind of become aware that the seller dashboard has been holding them back some of the things they've been wanting to do. So the good news is that all of that submission process for apps for Microsoft Teams, it's going to move over to Partner Center. So Partner Center is what you use to publish lots of other assets, mostly sort of all the Azure stuff, the Windows stuff, the Xbox stuff, that's all done through Partner Center. It's a much bigger beast. It is centrally looked after, it is much more maintained, and it's got a lot more features. So the really interesting one for me actually is that Partner Center supports the ability for developers to charge money for access to their apps on a subscription basis or on a kind of one-time basis. So potentially this opens up the door to a future where you'll be able to write Microsoft Teams apps, put them in the store and charge money for them. And I think that's actually going to be quite interesting because I think that will unlock a lot of developers who may not want to put in the effort and the investment to building a really big or really complicated apps for Microsoft Teams, because where's the value? If you're not doing it for your organization, then you're basically doing it for free. And so it might be, and I'm going to have to see, because this is not a given by any means, but if there is an ability to charge a small amount of money a month for an application, then maybe that will spawn a new and exciting set of Microsoft Teams applications. So that's kind of interesting. So that is coming soon. So blog post about that, the exact kind of the words that we use as part of the announcement, the references to timelines and stuff, you can read all of that in the blog. Okay, also coming out of Microsoft Ignite, and specifically a session that Bill Bliss did. So Bill Bliss is one of the founding members of Teams, platform architects. He was there right from the start. The major architectural decisions around how Teams works and runs are Bill's. So when Bill gets up to talk about Microsoft Teams architecture, you should listen. And that's what he did at Ignite this year. And so I pulled out really just a subsection of one of his sessions, which I thought was interesting, because this comes up, I get asked this quite a lot, that I get asked, where is stuff stored in Microsoft Teams? When Microsoft Teams puts stuff, when it gets stored at rest, where is that stuff? So there's 2 parts to that question. First, geographically, where is it? And the answer on that depends on your tenant, and I'll dig into some detail on that in the blog post. But also conceptually, logically, where is your stuff stored? Because actually Teams leans on Microsoft Azure a lot. So a lot of the places where Teams stores stuff are Azure constructs. So Azure Table Storage, Cosmos DB, places like that. So I've got a couple of screenshots from this talk, and I've put them in the blog post to really give as much detail as I can for all the different workloads, things like messages, images, files, voicemails, recordings, calendar meetings. Where are all these things stored? Because they're all stored in different places. So I've tried to kind of detail that out as much as possible. For the developers, I've also tried to highlight, there's a good screenshot showing all the different Azure resources that get used by teams. Now that's interesting as a developer. It's interesting to understand how you can build something like Teams. What things in Azure do you use to make Teams scalable, performant, reliable, redundant, disaster recoverable, compliant, all these things at a massive scale. So I thought that was interesting, so I put that in as well. It's kind of interesting. It's less developer focused, this particular blog post, because it's all kind of architecture stuff, but I think that's quite important for developers to know. And if you're anything like me, you get asked this question a lot. So I thought that was useful. And finally, in the remaining couple of minutes, a blog post I've literally just finished writing, and is the reason that my day's kind of out of whack, because I wasn't intending to spend this time talking about this until I realized it was happening, and then I thought I just have to sit down and write this blog post. And that is around Microsoft Graph. And so there's two parts to this. The bit I started out writing was the fact that there is now a PowerShell wrapper for Microsoft Graph, which is very interesting. So it's in alpha, it's an SDK, you can get it. It's not yet in the PowerShell gallery, but you can download it from their GitHub repo. I've got some commands in my blog post for how exactly you can do that, and provides a really nice PowerShell module abstraction over lots of parts of Graph. So that's really, really good. It's really, really good for PowerShell developers everywhere, because it means you're now not having to work out and do all those HTTP posts and gets. You can use your construct, you can use get, set, PowerShell commands, you can pipe, you can do all the nice things you're used to doing in PowerShell. However, what was really interesting, really interesting about this PowerShell SDK is that it contains two commands. One is called Get-UserPresence, and the other is called Update-UserPresence. Now, if you've done anything in Teams development in the last couple of years, you'll know that getting and setting presence programmatically has been a huge ask. So, getting presence now works. You can do it in the PowerShell, you can get presence, and there is also a Graph endpoint for this. Now, Matt Landis blogged about this a few days ago. Props to Matt. He found something in an Ignite session. I've linked to his blog post so you can get all the details on that. The documentation for that just landed literally 2 days ago. I didn't realize until I went looking for it as part of this blog post. Yep, documentation went live 2 days ago. So you can now see the permission sets you need to do get presence. You can see example code. You can see how it works. I've tried it in the Graph Explorer. It works great. I've got some screenshots. You can see it all working. It's really, really cool. The interesting part, again, I go into some detail about this in the blog post, is that although update user presence is a PowerShell command, right now I can't get it to work, and there is no documentation about updating presence. So my takeaway from that is that updating is probably coming really, really soon, but they wanted to bake it into the PowerShell to get it out because they know it's coming and it's just there, it just doesn't quite work yet. So that's my guess for update presence, but all the detail for that is all in my blog post, so go and have a look at that if you want to know how to use get presence, or if you're interested in using update presence. All right, that's everything from me. I know it's a bit of a long one, but there was only 3 things to talk about, but it turns out there's a lot to talk about. So that's everything from me. So keep track of me on Twitter if you want this week. So Monday, Tuesday, I'm going to be in Prague running a Microsoft session, or helping to run a Microsoft session. So you can catch me there. If you're in Central Europe, hit me up and say hello on Twitter. I'll try and do a video as well if I get some time as well with what I've been talking about. And then I'm back the rest of the week, and I expect there's going to be lots and lots to do. So follow me on Twitter. Check out all the videos if you haven't from Ignite. Loads of really cool interviews. thoughtstuff.co.uk/video. Have a wonderful rest of the weekend, and I'll talk to you again next week.